Hi everybody, this is Brandon Finnigan, Director of Elections here at Decision Desk HQ. This week we're going to be looking at the May 10th primaries in Nebraska and West Virginia. Before we dive in, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and if you enjoy these videos, be sure to click that bell so you're notified as soon as they're released and give them a like. Let's go ahead and get on towards the elections. First up, West Virginia, the Mountain State. Polls close here at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, there's no statewide offices up this year, so all the action's happening in the U.S. House, the new 2nd District to be exact. West Virginia lost one of its 3 seats in reapportionment last year, and that means we have a member-on-member primary for the GOP nomination in the 2nd District. This is the first of 5 such races currently set across the country. Now, the old district used to zig from Martinsburg and the D.C. suburbs over yonder and zagged on down to Charleston. Now, that zagging southwestern portion through the capital city was lopped off in the new 2nd District as it absorbed Morgantown, Clarksville, and Wheeling. Now, the 2 GOP members vying for the nomination are Congressman Alex Mooney and Congressman David McKinley. Now, McKinley originally won election in the House way back in 2010 from what is now the 1st Congressional District, and Mooney followed him 4 years later, and he currently represents the 2nd District. Given the way the districts have been redrawn, the new 2nd Congressional District includes more of what's McKinley's area. So Mooney faces the unique challenge of introducing himself to more new voters, but potentially working in his favor is the endorsement of former President Donald Trump. Personally, I'd be watching Monongalia County, Marion County, Harrison County, Ohio County, and Wood County. These voters are merging all in from the old 3rd District. If McKinley can keep them all, I expect this race to be close, but if he's losing them to Mooney, this is going to be a short night. In the 1st District, incumbent Republican Carol Miller faces mostly token opposition, and she should win renomination easily. Looking ahead to November, it's West Virginia, one of the most Republican states in the country. Not always that way. Of course, 20 years ago, when George W. Bush beat Al Gore here in the state of West Virginia, it was the first Republican victory in the state since 1984. His father had actually lost it in 1988, and of course Bill Clinton carried it easily in 1992 and 1996. Now, ever since 2000, it's voted Republican in the presidential elections. It has now one Republican U.S. Senator, and of course still one remaining Democratic U.S. Senator, Joe Manchin. In this environment, winning the GOP nomination is like winning the general election, at least for a race like that in West Virginia. Now, from the hills and hollows of West Virginia, we're going to move west to the plain states of Nebraska. And there's a couple of interesting races here to watch on the GOP side. Let's start off with the race for governor. Now, incumbent Republican Pete Ricketts, back when he ran for governor in 2014, he faced off against multiple challengers and barely eked by. Less than 27% of the vote in the primary went to Ricketts. It was a nail-biter back then. And yet again, history's repeating itself. We've got a wide-open race with 9 candidates running. There are 3 main candidates to watch: State Senator Brett Lindstrom, Conklin Corporation CEO Charles W. Herbster, and the University of Nebraska Regent Jim Pillen. Now, they're all within the margin of error in most of the polls of each other, and a large number of Nebraska Republicans still haven't said who they're sure voting for. As with many primaries, and like it was back in 2014, it's really hard to say which candidate's going to have a geographical edge over the others. But the major counties to watch are where all the voters are. I would be watching Sarpy and Douglas County, that's Omaha. I'd be watching Lancaster, that's Lincoln. And that's going to account for a good portion of the Republican vote, even statewide. On the House side of things, the really interesting race to watch is the 1st Congressional District. It's centered around Lincoln and kind of snakes on all the way around to the outskirts of Omaha and it kind of almost clamps around the 2nd District. Republican Jeff Fortenberry, he was first elected back in 2004, and we would normally have expected him to just cruise to renomination and re-election in November. That simple story was completely upended this year when he was found to be under investigation of federal corruption charges. He was found guilty at trial and decided to resign earlier this year. Now, complicating matters is the fact that that resignation came way too late for him to be removed from the ballot. His name will still be there, and votes for him will be counted. There are 4 other candidates on the ballot, including State Senator Mike Flood, who had been challenging the incumbent the whole time and leads the alternatives in fundraising. Those alternatives are Curtis Huffman, John Glenn Weaver, and Thurina Yuki Connolly. rounding out the field. The other two districts have Republican incumbent members who are very likely to cruise to renomination. Now, come November, the one race to watch in the state, I would say, is going to be that 2nd congressional district. It's swung a couple of times back and forth the last few years. It has a slight Republican lean with the redistricting, or it's been made slightly more Republican, at least with redistricting. That might be enough for incumbent Republican Don Bacon to get him on through, especially if the year remains nominally favorable to the Republican Party. The 2nd district, of course, is interesting because Nebraska, like Maine, awards its electoral votes not just statewide, but also by congressional district. In the state of Maine in 2020, Donald Trump won the 2nd congressional district's electoral vote, lost the first one, and lost statewide. The opposite happened in Nebraska. So Donald Trump carried 4 of the 5 electoral votes in Nebraska, winning the 1st and 3rd congressional districts and the statewide vote, but he lost to now President Joe Biden in the 2nd congressional district. The 2nd congressional district gave incumbent President Joe Biden a larger margin of victory than he earned in Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and even Michigan. It was a lot wider of a decision than those other states. Just an interesting tidbit to chew on. Now, that's our preview for the May 10th primaries. If you enjoy these previews, please be sure to subscribe, like, and sign up for the notifications by clicking that bell. That way you're going to be the first to find out about our May 17th preview when that video is going to drop, and that one you're not going to want to miss. The May 17th elections, that's going to be our busiest week of the year so far. You got primaries in Idaho. You got primaries in Kentucky. You got primaries in North Carolina. You got primaries in Oregon. And you got a primary in my favorite state of all, Pennsylvania. Anyway, until then, I'm Brandon Finnigan, Director of Elections here at Decision Desk HQ. Thank you all for watching.